Hi everybody, it's Andy from James Levy Estate Agents. Today I am with Zoe Davies, who is a local resident, lives in Walton-on-Thames, ex-estate agent, used to work for Foxtons, but survived and came out the other side, and is now a health and safety consultant. So I thought it would be really interesting to have a chat, obviously, in this sort of time of COVID and lots of people going back to work and starting to bring their people back into work. It obviously can be a bit of a scary time for people. So I thought it'd be good to have a chat. Zoe, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good. And you should probably say as well that I bought the property I'm sitting in now from you guys nearly 4 years ago.
I wasn't going to say, but you did. And you're still talking to me, which is a good sign.
Yeah. And I'm still here. I'm still in the flat. It hasn't fallen down. So
Fantastic. Excellent. So Zoe, tell us a bit about what you do and what your job is and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no worries. So I have kind of, I suppose, two roles. So I am the lead health and safety advisor for probably one of the biggest sports media and entertainment companies globally. It's called IMG and Endeavour, and we do sporting events, TV production all over the world. And I've been there for just over 9 years. And before that, I started in health and safety in construction, in cranes specifically. So I've got a bit of a mixed. And as you mentioned, yeah, before that I had a career in sales and actually using a bit of sales within H&S as well. So that's what I'd call my Monday to Friday 9 to 5. And then my side hustle is a freelance health and safety consultant. So I've been helping. It's been a bit of a busy time actually, because there's lots of people just wanting a quick kind of, I need to open up the shop or whatever. Can you help me do the H&S stuff? So yeah, a bit of a busier time for that at the moment.
Yeah, I can imagine. Before we get into the interesting stuff, I last time I was at the flat, I saw you have some really cool sort of sporting memorabilia up on your wall that like you worked or covered a lot of big events and that kind of stuff. Must be good fun.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll give you a little just to get a little idea of all the lanyards. Yeah, so
very cool.
People often say that H&S is like, oh, really boring. Who wants to be a health and safety advisor? And there's a bit of a naff reputation with it, but I think it's probably the coolest H&S job I have. So I travel the world supporting different events, from major golf tournaments to certain cage fighting, tennis events, mass participation, winter theme park things. But yeah, you get access to some incredible things, including I was there for when Wales beat England at Twickenham, when the World Cup was in England.
Incredible. Excellent. So bringing it back to our kind of local community, I guess one of the bits I wanted to talk to you on about was we've got quite a lot of local people who own their own businesses, maybe shops or retail, that kind of stuff. Probably at the stage where they're planning now to reopen and bring their teams back in. How can we give them advice to keep themselves safe, keep the team safe, keep the public safe?
Yeah, I think it can be quite overwhelming, and some safety professionals will, there's a lot of information out there to digest. So if you are just, as safety professionals, whether we're just in, I did the other week I was helping an estate agency and then a beauty company, and we have to kind of get our heads around those professions, as it were, and then we have to add on this new, really mysterious, really beast of hazard called COVID, and it's really overwhelming. There's so much information out there, but the reassuring thing is that it's really, really simple. It's just the basics of health and safety. And like I was saying to my team, that actually we don't need to stress about this, scientific biology of the virus. Just do a risk assessment. It really is that basic, and it's the same risk assessment you would do whether you are a coffee bar or if you are a catering unit. You'll do a risk assessment. You'll look at what can go wrong and what you're going to do to make sure it doesn't go wrong. So you just add COVID in there as well and go, okay, how can COVID hurt my people or hurt any of our visitors or any customers? And then just put some controls in place. But the main thing as well is to keep an eye on that, double check. So a risk assessment is 5 steps. It's really, really easy. But one of the steps is to make sure you monitor and review. So if you find in a week's time that actually the flow system you put in, or making everybody wash their hands or whatever, isn't working, then just take a look at it again and try something else. So yeah, it really isn't anything to stress over. It's just a risk assessment.
Okay, cool. And if someone was going to start and didn't kind of know where to start with that process, what would be the kind of first steps of undertaking that?
Give me a call.
I was going to say, do they just need to call you and get you to do it? I mean, is that the answer?
Yeah, that's fine. I can do it. No, it's 5 steps. So the Health and Safety Executive, which is the regulator, they're actually, to be fair to them, their website has got better and better and better, and the information is designed for users, so the business owners, as opposed to the health and safety practitioners. But the 5 steps is identify the hazard. So we've got COVID. Work out who can be harmed and how. So that might be Ryan sat on the desk next to you, or a customer that walks in, and how might they be harmed? Well, you might all be within 2 meters of each other, or you might be talking too closely to each other. And there are rules in place that manage the things that you've identified. What people tend to do with a risk assessment is go, oh, right, here's my risk assessment. Face masks, hand washing, and they just put a list of good ideas. But sometimes you'll end up wasting money on things that you don't really need. You may not need all these extra bits and bobs. It's similar if you think about a construction site. People always go, oh yeah, well, I've hard hats and high-vis. Now, a high-vis coat or a jacket isn't going to stop you being squished by a big bulldozer, for example. But if you control your site and have traffic management, then you're not going to squish people on your site, and maybe you don't need to spend that money on high-vis jackets. So yeah, just kind of go through the steps a little bit. It's really, really quite easy.
Cool, awesome. And I guess the other thing that's happening at the moment is a lot of people within our community are probably getting pulled back into work. And there was a really good example of this last night on the Walton on Thames group on Facebook.
Yeah.
There was a lady who was saying, I can't remember exactly, but it was along the lines of, I've got to be back at work tomorrow and I don't have a face mask. So I think she was asking where she could get one from. They got me kind of, is that her responsibility to do that, or should her work be supplying them, or what as a employee getting pulled back into work, what do people need to be careful of, and what steps should they be taking?
Yeah, okay. So from a regulatory point of view, as an employer, you have to do risk assessment to protect your staff. And if by bringing them into the workplace, whatever it is, it puts them at risk of exposure, then you need to put in control measures. And if you as the employer has decided that PPE, so a mask that stops you breathing in the droplets, or anything for dropping it, from stopping it going into your eye, if they think you need that, they need to supply it. In the same way, if you're working at a noisy concert venue, in order to go and work safely and protect your hearing, you're going to need some hearing defenders. Hearing defenders. So your employer would give you that. So there's that side of it, and that comes under the PPE regulations. So personal protective equipment, what protects the person, and it's not the paper masks or the cotton masks that we're seeing. It's proper fitted things. So if I gave you PPE, you'd have to shave that lovely beard of yours in order for it to work properly. But it stops the droplets coming in, and that's normally in the healthcare profession. You'd see things like that.
So we're banding around the term PPE a lot, aren't we?
Totally. Yeah. I was chatting to the health and safety executive last week, and just look at PPE is from my point of view, professional point of view, it's covered under the regulations. You have to give people information, instruction, training, supervision. You have to record how you use it. That's why it's always better to have other controls. Just don't be within 2 meters of each other.
Yeah.
But for our lady that we saw on the Facebook group the other night, I think she's probably looking for the cotton ones or the papery ones. And all they do is if you're a carrier of the virus, it just stops you kind of spreading the droplets.
Yeah.
It doesn't protect you as the individual, but it protects the public, the community. So but if an employer thinks it's essential part of your role, then the employer should be supplying it, and they should show that in their risk assessment, which you as an employee are entitled to see at any point.
Okay, so I think that's the key bit, isn't it? If you're getting called back into work and you're not sure, you should ask to see the risk assessment and just make sure that everything's being thought of and that you feel safe and comfortable.
Yeah, and the same thing, like if you're bringing people back into the workplace and you're having to change things around a bit, and you need to give people some new instructions about how to use the kitchen, like the kitchenette area, or we want you walking in the office in a certain direction, we've got circular flows, then you actually need to give your employees information and training, and you as the employer need to keep a record of what you've told people.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Zoe, if we've kind of scared the life out of anyone in the sense that they suddenly think, God, we haven't done this, or we should be doing this, how can I get in touch with you if they would like your expertise and your help?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Zoe Davies, Davies, or can drop me an email at my personal email address. So it's Zoe, the letter K, Dave, so ZOEK Dave @gmail.com, and I can answer any questions there and respond to kind of any requests.
Fantastic. Excellent. Brilliant. Thank you, Zoe. That's been really helpful. I really appreciate your time today.
No worries, you're welcome.
Cool. Catch you soon.